Well, that was a movie.
Hello, welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, this is Justin, and we just saw Renfield, the new Dracula movie starring Nicolas Cage as Dracula. It also has Nicholas Hoult playing Renfield, who, in case you don't know the Dracula lore, is like his slave, his servant, what was the familiar?
Familiar, yeah.
His familiar. It's also got Awkwafina, Ben Schwartz, and some other people. Adrian Martinez was a guy I recognized. Basically, now we're taking those characters and putting them in modern time because he's been serving him for all of these years, and instead of being in Transylvania now, for some reason they're in New Orleans, which is like the worst place to go if you're trying to find pure-blooded people.
They explain why they're in New Orleans. They go through this cycle over and over again. He feeds until he's full power, goes on a bloodthirsty rampage, the monster hunters show up, kick his butt some,
Light him on fire.
Light him on fire. They go to a new city where he fetches him human sacrifices so he can heal himself back up.
Right. Sure. So New Orleans. Anyway.
Hey, they said they've been a lot of places. It's been a lot of years.
They're running out. It kind of actually reminded me of an awful 1980s horror comedy starring Jim Carrey called Once Bitten, where the whole plot of that was the vampiress couldn't find a virgin anymore. Jim Carrey was like the last virgin left in the world. And it was like, what are we supposed to do? We can't feed on virgins.
Hey, you think they started with New Orleans, all right? This is like a last resort.
This is a last resort. But anyway, yeah, so it's a horror comedy, like I kind of alluded to. Hard on the comedy, much more comedy based than horror, but it does push into like the gore elements of the horror comedy genre a lot.
Outside of it being Dracula related, I'm not so sure about the horror part. But
no, yeah, it was kind of like almost like 21 Jump Street vibe comedy, except for with lots of blood.
It was
blood that progressively gets more and more obviously CGI as the movie goes on.
It's that with all the gore and bodily effects of that one scene in Undercover Brother with Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, I thought of that movie too. The scene that had us rolling, I was like, that was Undercover Brother.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it was kind of, it also reminded me of James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I don't know if you've seen that, but like from the jump in that movie too, it's just gore humor. Yeah. And I talked about that movie. I didn't like it because I got bored of the gore. I was like, it's shock value comedy, and it wore off. It didn't for me in this because I guess it was just sillier, which made it funnier. I don't know.
It took a while before it got really out there with the gore comedy.
I mean, it was always over the top.
It was over the top, but like it didn't take it to that extra leap until just like two scenes towards the end, and they were pretty fun.
I mean, even though like the scene in like the bar though, that was hilarious with how over the top it was. Like he cuts off guys' arms with like a plate. Like that's how ridiculous it is. He's punching a guy and his head goes flying. That's like the first action scene.
And that's still one level lower than those other couple of scenes later on in the movie.
Right, and that's so like there's a lull around the middle of the movie where we don't have action for a little bit, and then when it comes back, it's like they were rushed for time, or maybe it was a creative choice, but the CGI was awful.
I really hope it was a creative choice because that was great.
It was
perfection.
Like, and maybe also because it was in daylight versus the rest of the fight scenes were in like dark, so maybe that helped hide the CGI. But in this, it was like, I don't know if you saw Kick-Ass 2. We saw that together, right? Remember the one scene where she's like vomiting and diarrheaing out of both ends simultaneously?
Yeah.
And I was like, that looked like a college student did it. That's kind of the same level we got to in this, where I was like, that was god awful CGI, but it added to the joke and made
worked for this movie.
Funny. It really did make it funny. So as opposed to Suicide Squad, I never got bored. I was entertained the whole time, and I was shocked by that because like from the first scene I was like, this is what it's gonna be, I'm gonna get bored, and then I never did. I really never did.
I have to say, I didn't really know much about this movie at all, besides until you told me about it last week, and then I looked it up a little, but yeah, no, I was thoroughly entertained. You know, all you have to say is Nick Cage.
Yeah, that's what got me.
Wow role, I'm in. But
and he was awesome too, by the way. But yeah, my whole reason to want to see this, and basically all I knew about it was Nick Cage is playing Dracula, and I was like, I am in. And I heard he does a great job, and I was like, I'm not surprised. And he was phenomenal. I think if you had told me ahead of time how little screen time he had, I would have been disappointed. But honestly, the movie was good enough that I didn't care. Like, I cared about the main character is Renfield, and I thought he was good.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, Nicholas Hoult has been in a lot of things I've seen before. I don't know if
I remember him as Beast.
He was Beast. He was in Mad Max. He was in Warm Bodies.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff, and he's never.
Oh gosh, he was that person in Mad Max.
Yeah, he's very
Witness
rarely.
me.
He's very rarely the main character because he looks gaunt and like he's kind of dying.
A little bit.
Which is why it worked in Warm Bodies because he played a zombie, and it works in this because he's a disciple of Dracula. But whenever he's in something, he's always great. I always like him a lot, so I was happy with him. And then Awkwafina, I haven't seen her in a lot, to be honest, and didn't have an opinion really on her. She was good in this too. She made me laugh. I really liked everybody in this movie. And so when Dracula was only on the screen for a fourth, maybe a third of the movie, I didn't mind because I was enjoying seeing these other characters. Even Ben Schwartz was funny, and I actively dislike Ben Schwartz most of the time.
Really?
And I thought he was great. Well, I've seen Sonic. You haven't seen
No,
Sonic.
I have not seen Sonic, but I do tend to love Ben Schwartz and whatever he's in. So as soon as I saw him, I knew I was in for a good one.
But yeah, so it's just ridiculous over-the-top action. Like I was saying, like people's heads get punched off, people get stabbed with forks and gush blood, people rip off people's arms and use them as projectiles. I was not expecting the level of like gore and violence in this movie at all.
It made sense in the first scene, even though people's arms were getting cut off with plates and such, even though people's heads were getting punched off. Vampire powers, it kind of made sense versus normal humans. Then they took it to the Undercover Brother level, and I did not expect the arm projectiles.
No, the face being ripped off.
Oh my gosh,
that was hilarious. But yeah, so I mean, I struggle to say it's like a high quality movie, but it was fantastic.
I mean, you don't go in expecting like high cinema.
No, you're not expecting
But it is phenomenal for what it is.
Right. Like, I mean, there wasn't a single plot point that you didn't see coming. There wasn't any sort of, like, Oscar-worthy acting. In fact, it's kind of the opposite on purpose. So it's not like this is, like, 10 out of 10. But, like, knows exactly what it is. It went full force into it. Didn't try to be some genius level script, but actually for what it was really well written. Like, they do this whole thing, like the whole plot of the movie is focusing on like relating Dracula to your typical narcissist and how you can be in a toxic relationship with somebody like that. I knew there was like that one joke in the trailer. I didn't expect that to be the whole plot though, because if you've seen the trailer, Renfield says like, yeah, I'm in a toxic relationship and I need to get out of it. And I was like, haha, that's funny. But like, that is the plot. That actually is the plot. And I really enjoyed how all of that was written. Also, by the way, he's in like a support group, and I loved every character in that support group.
Yeah,
they were all great, especially the one like goth chick was my favorite. I thought
she was gonna have more screen time too.
I wanted her to. Yeah. But she was fantastic. They all were fantastic. So was like the pastor, the leader guy, whoever he was. He was great. It's just every character in this was good. I loved everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all around phenomenal. And I didn't see any of the trailers, so I had no idea going in what it was gonna be about. Yeah,
it exceeded my expectations. I really enjoyed it. Like, I don't know, I'd give it a 7, I think. 7 seems fair.
I'd give it an 8.
8? All right. I enjoyed it. I think it was stupid, but that's why I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't expect comedy. I mean, I know they said horror, but comedy Dracula movie with Nick Cage as Dracula.
Right.
I expected kind of stupid, and I loved it.
Right. It kind of reminded me a little bit, honestly, of last year's Nicolas Cage movie, where I went for Nicolas Cage and I left for Pedro Pascal. Like, he was the best part about the movie, and Nicolas Cage was good in that. He was okay in that. I wanted him to do more in that than he did. But in this, Nicolas Cage was everything I expected him to be as Dracula. Like, he was fantastic. But, like, I stayed for everything else about the movie. Like, he was good. But he no longer is, like, my favorite thing about the movie, necessarily. And, like, I thought he was the sole reason to see it. Not the case. Like, it was just a good movie. Nicolas Cage aside. Like, it was good. You could have had, like, anybody play him, and I still would have enjoyed the movie.
But I'm grateful you got Nick Cage.
Oh, absolutely. He was great. He was so good, especially in the early scenes, because like in the early scenes he's very decrepit because he's healing. He's trying to get back to full power. So in the first couple of scenes, he's like really fucked up, like he's falling apart. And I don't know, something about how he was acting, he's like, man. I was like, that's so good. I love that so much.
Renfield.
So yeah, I don't know, man. I enjoyed this movie a lot, and I didn't expect, like, I thought it would be fun, but I enjoyed it a lot. I genuinely did. I think we're gonna just get into a little bit more detail at this point, so if we didn't already spoil it for you, click away. Just go watch it though. It's fun. It really is.
Yeah, believe me.
Well, okay. Unless you don't like gore humor, then stay far away, because that's 90% of what this movie was. But I thought it was very well done gore humor. And
it was all phenomenal, especially if you've seen that Undercover Brother scene. You'll love it.
Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Bye. So, man, yeah, that scene. So they're in the apartment complex and they're surrounded by the cops, and then he like eats all of the ants, which was hilarious. Dude, 'cause he's like, give me those.
I thought he was just gonna like grab the one he put in out and he's just scarfing it down.
And then it's just like the gore up until that point, like you said, it kind of made sense. Like,
yeah.
It was overblown. Like, you know, people shouldn't be exploding like they are. Also, Ben Schwartz gets stabbed in the throat with a fork and then is completely fine.
He lost so much
it's like
blood.
splurting out.
I was so sad that he was dead already.
I was like, that was a small role, but okay.
Yeah.
No, just you see the next scene, he's got like a Band-Aid and he's fine, which was great. But no, in this scene, it gets ridiculous. So it starts on around the same level, but then he's like tearing people's arms off, using them as spears. And then there's a scene where he kicks somebody and he just explodes. Like, I don't know, Awkwafina and this guy are fighting and he's like hanging off the ledge, but I guess he's like core strength, like planking or something. I don't know exactly what was happening. And then Renfield just jumps and kicks him in his stomach, and his whole body just explodes into this eruption of awful CGI blood. I lost it.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god.
When the one guy runs up, he's got the mask on, grabs his face, rips it off.
Yeah, that was to me. That's what reminded me of Undercover Brother. Was that what you were talking about too?
The arms happened first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the arms did it for me.
That
first,
whole bit, yeah, that whole bit was Undercover Brother. He didn't rip anybody's heart out and have it squirt green stuff. But aside from that, it got as close as possible.
Yeah, we got regular color blood here.
Like I said, Nicolas Cage wasn't in it as much as I expected. But I didn't mind, because, you know, I actually kind of was invested in Renfield's character arc, which is, once again, something I wasn't expecting to care about at all. But I enjoyed the character arc. I enjoyed his interactions with Awkwafina. Her storyline on its own wasn't very good. It was all right, but it has no resolution outside of don't be angry. Actually, I don't know if it had. I don't know if it ever said that. Because like be a good cop. But that's the thing. Like, she broke. What did she do? Rules. Yeah, like she brought her sister back, and they're just like cool now. They're just like, I see that this was like mystical, and I guess that's fine to not do the copying by the rules. Yeah. No, it didn't make any sense at all. But I liked her in the movie, but like... And also her arc had nothing. Her introduction to her sister was so bad, because it was like, hey, you can't be breaking the rules. I know Dad always said, like, oh, okay, so we're siblings. All right, thank you. And then she goes like, well, Dad said that, like, all right, we got it. I heard you the first time. But no, my favorite thing with Awkwafina was the whole like, fuck you, Kyle thing. I love the fuck you. I loved Kyle's character. He was just there to be yelled at. I want to offer you a promotion. You can get Kyle's parking spot. Hey, what? Fuck you, Kyle. Congratulations. I love that. But yeah, no, the plot itself, it's not important. It's not really that good. It's really the characters and the action comedy that makes it good. Like, I mean, yeah, nothing with Awkwafina's character was really well written, but I enjoyed her because she was funny, and her interactions with Renfield were good. She was exactly what I thought her character needed to be, and she was great at that. And then same thing with, like, I mean, everything's kind of glossed over with Renfield's actual character arc, but once again, because I enjoy the character, I enjoy the situations, I actually genuinely extremely got upset when like I knew Dracula was about to kill everybody in the support group. I was like, oh dang it! I
was really
them.
hoping something would have happened, and I did like how that happened though.
Yeah,
he kicks them across the room, and he kills them all while he's still flying across the room. And that was pretty good.
Yeah, and I was like, even as it was happening, I was disappointed that happened, but I was like, no, actually that should have happened. That's good. It adds stakes, and it makes it more important. And then right before it happens, you know they're going to get brought back, and you're like, good. I'm happy now because I didn't want those people to die. I like those characters.
Honestly, wasn't sure they were going to be brought back because I figured it'd be a little while before they got the all-powerful Dracula blood.
It did make me think, though, were their bodies still just dead in that church?
I guess so.
Nobody had cleaned it up?
Or maybe you can just go to the morgue and just start pouring Dracula blood in everyone's mouths.
So then can he go find the grave of his wife and daughter and bring them back to life? Like,
maybe there's limits? Maybe you just bring them back as skeletons?
I don't know. Like, what? So, I mean, yeah, it doesn't want you to think.
No.
This movie does not want you to think, but it is enjoyable under those conditions. It really is. And like I said, there is a little bit of substance there with the whole like narcissistic thing. Yeah. It adds a little bit of depth.
I think they did the toxic relationship storyline pretty well.
Yes.
They went through it. I could see him trying to grow as a person, then falling back in the toxic relationship, and eventually overcoming, but it was kind of a short movie, so he only fall back once, but I'm fine with that.
Right. And I enjoyed their implementation of like following the vampire rules. Like they made sure that Dracula had to be invited into every place before he went. Although I will say in the church scene, it seemed like an afterthought because they like dubbed over the line of like, come on in. It's like they forgot and they're like, shit. But then when he goes to the apartment, they've got the welcome mat. And I thought that was really clever because it says, welcome, come on in. I was like, that's fantastic. That was really good. So it's like they follow the rules. Although I will say, I did mention it when we were in the theater there, I was kind of expecting a post-credit scene, but maybe they're just opening it up to the possibility of a sequel. Of all the ways to kill vampires, the most prevalent one that we know of is the wooden stake through the heart. And they didn't do that. Like, they used holy water, they diced them up, they made them into liquid and then into cement blocks. And
they just diced them up, maybe juiced them or something, but yeah, they brought them into like cement blocks and
then dumped them down the sewer. And it's like, he can come back from that, as far as I know.
I mean, from everything, it seems like he's still alive, but in pieces, stuck in those blocks, and maybe can't reform unless he gets blood. Because it definitely seemed like blood was the only way he was ever healing from all those times.
Like he needs blood. And I mean, the holy water, I mean, it hurts vampires, but it doesn't kill them, right?
Maybe not as far as, I mean, like maybe if you had gallons, all I've ever heard of is like you splash it on them and they start to burn and recoil.
Yeah.
But they had stakes, they just didn't use them.
I know, I kept waiting for the stakes to come out and they never did. Like when, I thought when she went to flick the light switch, the thing, I thought she was going to reach for her stake and stab him. That's what I was expecting, but instead it was the lights, or the window switch, which also then they threw in like a fake out joke that didn't land at all because of the timing of it, whereas like she flicks a switch and nothing happens and she goes, shit. And then she flicks it 3 more times and then it opens, and I was like, so why did we bother having that in there? Because that just took up about 10 seconds of runtime and added nothing. That was kind of lame, but complaints are few and far between with this movie, so I'm not really that worried about that moment. It was just like, that was clunky, that could have been cut. But yeah, I don't know why they didn't use the stakes at any point. I really don't.
It's just too easy.
Yeah.
Hey, they said ways to kill vampires have gotten a little muddled over the years.
Sure, okay.
You've seen them come back from a lot of crazy shit.
We mentioned like the whole narcissistic thing from Nicholas Renfield's point of view, but even with how Dracula was written, like his dialogue all like really fed into that too, with like how he was like, you're nothing without me, this is all your fault, actually, you're the monster. I really enjoyed the dialogue there. Like it actually was good. It
was definitely like an abusive relationship. Definitely felt like everything I've ever seen about those.
Like it could have been something that they'd glossed over, made into a joke, and then just left it as a joke. But it became a genuine heart of the plot, really. Like
it was the plot.
Yeah, it was the point of the story. So it could have just been a throwaway gag, but they actually made it matter, and I was like, oh, I'm impressed by that.
They pretty much hit every character besides. I mean, Ben Schwartz was just being Ben Schwartz.
Schwartz
But
was there being
if
Ben
you
Schwartz.
like Ben Schwartz being Ben Schwartz, I mean, he was great in this. So
And you want to see him get kicked so hard that he shits himself and vomits blood.
at the same time,
Which, that scene also didn't make sense to me, really. Because they're both super powered, and I know if you have to eat the bugs to get superpowers, right?
Yeah.
Well, they obviously both currently have superpowers because they are fighting. Like, they're
Right.
have superpowers. But then Renfield pops one more bug and then is able to do that, and it's like, but wasn't he superpowered too?
so like I don't know if that bug gave him like extra power or if like maybe Ben Schwartz's power was diminishing. But
Sure.
it definitely seemed like if you could get like a good Mortal Kombat-esque hit on one of the other vampires, they would die. Because all the henchmen in the end had the
Yeah.
familiar powers.
Which I did have kind of a problem with that too, because like for Renfield to beat up everybody because he's got the superpowers makes sense, and even for him to beat up Ben Schwartz when they both had the powers made sense because Schwartz was also equally a loser. But all these henchmen were like cool badass guys before they took the superpowers, so you'd think them plus the superpower would be better than a random lame guy with the superpower. Yet Renfield was able to decapitate all of them.
Hey, he's been doing this for decades.
I guess, yeah.
They just started. They're new to this vampire shit.
I guess.
I don't know how to really flex these muscles.
Sure. If I could change only one thing, the scene where they bring in the coffin of Dracula into the room to show his mom, and then they open the coffin, and then he stands up. He stands up normally. Like, the whole quintessential thing with Dracula is that he just...
Oh, yeah,
Well, I was like, why didn't they do that? Why did they not do that? That was the one thing, if I could change one thing about the movie, that is the one thing I would change. I was like, why didn't we do that? Why didn't we do that? I feel like it was stolen from me to see Nicolas Cage do that.
Because I remember it looked awkward the way he got up. It's like he's supposed to be lying back, and he got up from like a kneel.
Yeah, it's like he was laying face first in the coffin.
And then hunched up, and then
like,
kneel.
It was like, no, you gotta... It's gotta look cheesy as fuck, man. Like, what? What are we doing? So that's what we had to think. I definitely, like I said, I highly recommend it if that sounds like something you would like. Because keep in mind, niche audience here. A lot of people will hate this movie. There is nobody in my family that I can go tell watch this movie. But I have friends I can tell to watch this movie.
Yeah, I will tell my friends, because I think it's going straight to streaming services soon or something like that.
I mean, this is its opening week in theaters. It'll be...
I hope it stays, but there's like, I've seen some releases nowadays where they just put like a amount in a day to go. So I never know anymore whether movie's going to stay or not.
In theaters. It's getting good reviews, but there is max 10 people in the theater today.
Yeah, like I could see it being a streaming service movie. But either way, I have some friends who I think will love this movie because they love Nick Cage and these wacky comedy roles he's been doing recently.
Right.
And they're going to love this.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell Eric he needs to see it because we were talking about it a couple weeks ago and I saw the trailer and what I said to him was, I'm afraid that it's going to be one of those movies that it's hilarious for like the first 15 minutes and then you stop caring. And it wasn't that. It was good the whole way through.
I was a little worried when Dracula stopped, because I remember I had no idea what was going on, but when he was off screen, we were following Renfield around, I was like, oh, am I going to enjoy this plot? Am I going to care about this at all? And surprisingly, I did.
For some reason, yes. Genuinely did. So, yeah, there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, share it, and subscribe if you're new here. Thanks, guys. Bye. Bye. Give it again. Give it again.